Hi friends, Mr. Book here, and I'm here to read you a book. The name of the book that I chose for you is A True Adventure, The Story of Three Whales, and it's written by Giles Whittle and illustrated by Patrick Benson. And this is a true story. You know this is a true story because, look, there's pictures of newspapers and magazines. This really happened. It happened back in 1988, and I remember when this happened. Do you know why I remember when this happened? Because I'm really old. Yep. I was in 10th grade at the time, and I remember hearing about this on the news, so I thought that I would share this story with you. These are the pictures from the book right here, and I'll change them as I read. And all the pictures are in black and white, and I know that snow is white and whales are gray, so that I guess there wasn't a whole lot of color anyways, but maybe you can use your imagination like SpongeBob says. Imagination. So, let me begin. For 12 bright weeks every summer, the Arctic Ocean is full of life. Blooms of plankton float among the icebergs, shellfish slide along the seafloor, squid lurk under pitch-black overhangs of rock, and whales swim up from the Pacific to feed. Humpback whales, bowhead whales, and California gray whales all come to the Arctic. In the summer of 1988, one particular herd of California gray whales was plunging and rolling, leaping and belly flopping off the north coast of Alaska. But winter came early in 1988. The first sign was a freezing wind from the east. Blizzards blew in from the top of the world. Thick pack ice spread out from the shore, and its shadow fell over the whales. Most of the whales were quick to sense the changes. In small groups, they set off on the long swim south to be warm for the winter. But 3 of the whales failed to notice the end of summer. 1 adult, 1 middle-sized, and 1 baby. Quietly, the ice crept in. The ocean was changing from blue to silent white. Gray whales can hold their breath underwater for half an hour, but soon the 3 who had been left behind would have nowhere left to surface. If you didn't know, whales are mammals, and they can't stay underwater all the time like fish can. They have to come to the surface of the water to breathe, but if there's ice over the surface, they can't breathe. Only the open water was safe, beyond the pack ice. But the 3 whales lost their sense of direction. They swam toward land into an Alaskan bay where the still, shallow water was certain to freeze very quickly. At the mouth of the bay was a shelf of ice underwater, broken pack ice piled up against it, forming a wall. From seabed to surface, there was no way out of the bay. Then the surface froze solid. The whales were trapped in a prison of ice. They could not breathe. Again and again, they rammed upward at the ice with their noses. At last, they managed to push their great heads through a crack in the ice. An Inuit hunter, like a native person of Alaska, was passing and saw them. In nearby Barrow, an Inuit town, he told people what he had seen. To begin with, nothing was done to save the whales. It would be natural for the whales to die, and the Inuit accepted it. But the news of the whales began to spread. Their pictures appeared on local TV. This is the whale who has just broken through the surface of the ice so he can breathe. And this is the Inuit hunter. One person who heard the news was a wildlife ranger. She persuaded the people of Barrow to help keep the whales alive. Out over the ice they trudged with axes, ice poles, and chainsaws to cut breathing holes. The whales appeared at the holes and filled their huge lungs. The Inuit gave them names. Siku, the biggest, Putu, the middle one, and Kanik, the baby. Siku means ice in Inuit, Putu means ice hole, and Kanik means snowflake. The Inuit cut a line of breathing holes out toward the open water. They worked for 14 days and nights, clattering chainsaws sliced constantly through the ice, but the water would quickly freeze solid again. Siku and Putu and Kanik refused to follow the line of holes. They stayed by the shore where they knew they could breathe. The plight of the whales became front-page news all over the world. Millions of people waited in hope. From all across America, offers of help poured in, but nothing could break through the wall of ice at the mouth of the bay. An enormous bulldozer tried, but stuck fast. A Sky Crane helicopter hammered the ice with a concrete torpedo. It punched a line of holes from the whales to the wall, but still the whales wouldn't follow. Their noses were bloody and scraped to the bone. The ice was invincible. It seemed to the watching world that the whales must die. Polar bears stalked the ice, waiting patiently for a feast of whale meat. One evening, Siku and Putu surfaced alone. Being the smallest, Kanik was also the weakest. Morning came, and still only Siku and Putu appeared at the hole. No one could say exactly what had happened, and no one ever saw Kanik again. On the 20th day, Siku and Putu felt the tremble of distant engines. A huge Russian icebreaker was roaring to the rescue, the great Admiral Makarov. And an icebreaker is a special type of ship that is designed to be able to break through thick ice on the ocean. The captain found a grand phrase to mark the occasion. "Let us begin to break ice," he called. All night, the breaker charged at the ice, pulled back, and charged again. By morning, a channel was clear, a quarter of a mile wide. The crew of the Admiral Makarov grinned. They came ashore to celebrate, and the Inuit and other Americans hugged them and cheered. Then the icebreaker turned for the open sea with Siku and Putu close behind. The whales understood that they must follow the thunder and froth of the engines. The sound would lead them from the prison of ice to the open water and freedom. The rest of the herd was 3 weeks ahead on the journey south. Siku and Putu had thousands of miles to swim. So they each blew a great water spout and set off. Their long ordeal was over now. I wish that Kanik would have made it, but that's still a happy ending. I'm glad the whales made it. That was fun reading to you guys. I hope you guys have a great summer. I hope you're reading too.